I'm sorry. So I will just make a summary for the recording. So we have the first part selecting the image and filter by area of interest, cloud coverage, and time to 2020, following the Google Earth engine, using the Google Earth engine catalog. So you can find all this information there. Now we are defining the training site and soon after the validation site over this RGB value of Sentinel image. We are in Vietnam. So we have defined already artificial surface. We are defining agricultural areas, the yellowish one. Let's define the more green, the greener, green one, which will help in assessing the whole, accounting for the whole variability of this class. So agricultural areas green. Again, we now go in the settings. It's a feature collection because we will have different feature in it, from polygons, I went to pixel. We have the properties, which would be land cover. Again, we have defined 0 artificial surface. One is the agricultural area yellow. This would be then 2. Sorry, the yellow was 1. The green will be 2. I will make a light green. Okay, just to differentiate from the forest, which will be dark green. So again, let's go and put some point. Agricultural area which are green. So for example, here we can see, and we can start putting, for example, our polygon, but we can also be select point. Again, let's try to take point from any type part of the image with it. Okay, we can select here, here. Of course, some of these could be arbitrary. So I would suggest let's take the very evident object as a training. So you could see, of course, you can clearly see the pixel. But of course, if you zoom in, you start to see, probably the best way is to untick the RGB. You could see also the polygon, because they are very small, they are not so evident when we zoom out. So you start to see everything is appear at the top. So we have artificial surface, agricultural areas yellow, agricultural areas green. We can now define the forest. So we'll need to add a new layer. Okay. Again, let's change the name forest. The actually will be called a forest semi-natural area, but let's just abbreviate to forest. Again, feature collection, property, it's land cover. You will understand later why I'm calling this property like that. So this is, we have 0, 1, 2, this will be 3. They should be different for each layer. And we select a dark green, dark color. There is a big massive forest here, so we can easily take a big polygon, for example here. This is very homogeneous, so probably, of course, we should account for the shadow, but this will be very complex. Let's see how it will be the classification, and we can eventually change. Okay, so I defined the forest. I can add also other point for the forest here, for example. I'm happy. So I have now, you see, 7 elements, whatever they are, pixel or point or polygons, whatever. Artificial, agricultural areas, yellow, green, forest. Now we need to add wetlands. Wetlands could be, as I told you, very, very tricky. So, because it could be very subjective. I usually tend to manage everything in water bodies. But essentially, wetlands are areas which are, temporary, could be temporarily covered by water. They are usually, that could be an indication associated with agricultural areas. So essentially by definition is any area which is flooded by water seasonally, permanently, but where there are oxygen-free processes. So it's not seawater or everything, but of course we cannot assess with satellite images, whatever the resolution will be, if we are talking about oxygen-free processes prevails or not. So we just, I think the best things is looking for, you see these small water bodies associated to water, to agricultural areas. So I would suggest, let's define a new layer geometry. Let's call it wetlands. We usually have this cyan color, bright. Yeah. Again, feature collection 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be 4. So land cover 4. It's important because this essentially, when we are going to apply any classifier, we are going to look. So the classifier is going to look to this value. So this is the class value. It needs to know. Don't worry about tile error. Sometimes, yeah, it gets crazy. Don't worry because we haven't run anything, so we haven't done anything wrong. So I would suggest for the wetlands, probably it's better, sorry, I want to make even clearer the color. Yeah, we can take, for example, this like a very bright green. Of course, the issue is they could be seasonal. So if we take the next year, we would probably need to change the training site if we want to change the time span. So I will take, you see, probably for the wetlands, it's good with just 8 points based because they are very small. So this is something, wetlands is something I would avoid to classify, but let's try. I mean, we can always delete eventually. So yeah, you could see how small they could be. So let's say, yeah, we have defined the wetlands. They usually, I think in Vietnam, they correspond also, I think in the Philippines, they correspond to, yeah, rice plantation, these type of things. So yeah, let's say we are happy with, oh, sorry, wrong name, 2A. Okay. So again, you could see it's very flexible. You can change the name here. You can change the name here. You can delete a whole class. You see this, the bin here. And now let's go with water. I like, sorry. I have a question. You put where, yeah, thanks. Thanks for noticing. Am I sharing the screen? Yeah, I'm sharing, okay. So now let's do water bodies. Again, like we have made, of course, it depends. Now let's try to do the best we can. But we can go even more in details later on. Let's say, as we have done for the agricultural areas, we define a yellow and a green because they have different spectral value. As I told you yesterday, it's good we try to represent the whole variability of a class. Then, of course, when we have to calculate the extension of the agricultural areas, we will consider both these two numbers, okay? But for the training, it's important we keep separate because otherwise it will probably consider a very green agricultural areas. It can be merged with forest, okay? So now we have water bodies. So you could see water bodies. Is this a water bodies? No, this is still forest. So we can add eventually a forest. You see, I just click on forest and I had some point here. Let's look for water bodies. Where are? Please do the same. I mean, don't follow I'm just randomly travel across the province. So select your training site where you are. Don't try to put the same area, will be tricky, difficult. So now water bodies. So I will suggest water bodies. We call it water bodies. I will call dark, and we can move clear and dark. Okay. So let's put a very dark blue. Again, feature collection 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Property land cover, and this would be 5. So this, for example, I can probably do polygon here, a rectangle. So you could see this is a water bodies. It's very dark. So yeah, again, let's say for example, I want, as I told you, we can cancel. I click on it. I can delete or press cancel on the keyboard, or I can move it. You see, or I can extend it. So it's what is good. It's quite flexible. Let's go and define other dark water bodies if we can find. As I told you, this could be a very subjective way, so we should be careful here. We can define, for example, also I will probably, what I would do is, there is a big lake, probably it's a dam, definitely it's a dam. Again, I will take another big polygon here. Probably there are some islands so inside, so be careful. These are dark bodies, water bodies, like this river here. But here we can define water bodies like bright or bright. Let's call it bright. So I define another. This was 5. We define a new layer, which we will call it water bodies bright. And we can have like a blue, something like this. Again, feature collection, properties, land cover, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And again, we can select here some rectangles. You could see all these pixelated. This is the effect of merging different image. Okay, from the most the median from different time of the year. So we will have essentially, hopefully, once the classification is done, here like a different type of water bodies from this one. This people, I think this is the Red River. So how is going first? Let me check. I want to be sure. Can you please confirm that you have been able? I mean, take your time. We are not in a rush. And of course, we can then discuss the results tomorrow, but it's important you can get this right. So what I've done is, we took the area of interest, we imported as an asset, our shapefile. Then we added the variable we defined on the RGB image, different type. And you see every time we create a property is always the same, land cover, because this is what the classifier will be looking at. And these are the different values. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. There are different elements we can add, we can move, we can delete. Okay, classes. So it's not the issue. Then it's important. I would suggest, like always, we need to define, along with training side, because it's a supervised classification, also validation sites. Usually the number will be much lower. We can, because this would be important, because will give us an idea of how good is our classification. Okay, if we, for example, if there are, and also if there are classes which are completely misclassified, not just the overall classification. So can you please confirm, you don't, let me know if you have right in the text, in the chat, if you have an issue. Otherwise, I will go on now and define the validation, and then I will, sorry. I mean, what we can do is, for the moment, Tan was asking, will we combine? But we can see. The idea for me is, to keep separated the training and validation, of course, but then merging, because in the end, we want to know the agricultural areas, how extended it is, or water bodies, how extended it is. So we define differently. But in the end, when we want to know, for example, changes or extension, we treat as a one layer only. Yeah, one layer. So the same would be with water bodies. It's just probably it's better now, but we can see, let's say that, for example, we see that the classification is very bad, the accuracy is very bad. We can just delete a whole class. Okay, you could see we can do this. I will not do because I don't know if I will lose everything. So yeah. 1 second. Okay, so we can do now again the same process for validation site. What I usually do is again define new layer for each of how many training sites we have. We can also eventually, okay, define validation site just for specific classes, okay, not for all. But of course, I think it's the best way is to do, for each classes training site we will define also the validation. Another thing is, of course, this is not be the case. It's not the case because of all the filtering, but eventually we can define also a cloud class, okay? But as you can see, we don't have luckily this issue because of all the mosaic and filtering we have done. So let's go and define the validation site. I usually, what I do is define a new class and I literally call like the same feature surfaces with an extension V. Okay, again, feature collection property length cover, and in this case the value will be the same of the class, the training site, so 0. Angela, usually we probably, to be honest, there are ways to automatically select training and validation site in Google Earth Engine. To be honest, I don't know, but I think it's good anyway because we are beginners. We start in this way because so we understand what is behind. But usually, it's 70-30, the proportion between training validation, or 80-20. That is the kind of proportion. Usually, I select the same color. Usually, I make darker, so I'm sure that that is the validation for that class. So let's go, so I can put, for example, validation point here. Probably, one thing I should have defined, and I will do now, for the artificial surface, is also defining these purple buildings. These are usually industrial. So I will take in account. And this, you could see the slightly darker, this is the validation site. Okay, you can highlight here, you see, so you understand which one is which eventually. Okay, so let's do us again. I will stop talking now, and so we can concentrate on defining validation site for each of these other remaining classes, and then we can go on the classifier itself. But of course, this is, let's say, the most time consuming part, but now it's just because we are doing a training, but later it can take 5 minutes. And then the classification, that's it. I mean, that is the only interaction we have. Then the classifier, we can change some parameters, but there is not much we can do. So let's define now the other classes. Validation. So for example, agricultural areas. I will call like in the same way, okay, with the V extension. But to be honest, in terms of the class, for us it's important, but for the classifier, the important things is this, the property. So it should be land cover 1. So this number should be the same of the training site, okay? Because this is what the classifier would be looking at, okay? The match between this and the validation and the training. That's it. This is just the name, the label we gave for us to remember, but it doesn't matter for the classifier. So usually, as I told you, darker color. I would suggest to note, of course, people can be tricky and naughty and dodgy and select the training site the validation side close to the training side. Don't do that. So yeah, I would suggest I will try to dig in different area. So yeah, please, if we can do the same. Oh, so for example, you see I don't like this, I will cancel. We don't need to define a lot because we haven't defined a lot of training. Now we can do the same for the agricultural area screen. Again. Validation. Again, what I use it's a darker color. Feature collection property again. Land over 0, 1, 2. This is 2. And we can, for example, here. Oh. I'm just being more silent just so I can give you concentration, but write if you have an issue. Forest. Another, suggestion is, of course, if we define polygon, it's fine because we have that pin out. It's very clear, evident, even at large scale. The polygon could be an issue because if they are very small, we can see them only when we zoom it a lot. So we can lose them, and we don't know where they are sometimes. So yeah, don't do very, very small. Otherwise, would be pointless. Would be more useful using the pixel-based selection. 0, 2, 3. Again, this is uncover 3. Very dark color. Let's go to the forest. Unfortunately, the forest is just. We can take validation here. Forest, to be honest, should be quite easy. So if we get the forest wrong, it's literally we have done huge mistake. Oh, the classifier is very bad. Blah blah blah. Forest. After forest we have wetlands. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. So you see, it's giving me a warning because I should define V. So it's not this. The number should be unique. It's this name. Usually wetland very small, so we need to go. And could be very, very problematic. So you see, I usually go for this type of feature, very invisible green. Usually these correspond to wetlands on the ground, you see. But yeah, sometimes it could be because they are in the end could be most of the time created because of agricultural use, so the definition could be problematic. But usually, as I told you, they don't make. For us, for example, we are interested in urban expansion, so it's important we define right the artificial surface. Usually, wetlands they are minimum component, and then again, water bodies, dark. feature collection, property, and cover. I think this is 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy HP. Almost. Validation. So we can go here. Oh, I put wrong. Let me cancel this. So, for example, let's go here. I think probably we need to add more and more, validation point and training. But the important things at the moment is showing how it works. Also, because as you can see, it's quite easy to update things and running again. And now the last, the water bodies, right? So of course, defining a polygon for validation, it's very risky because of course it could be that some of these pixels will not be classified as a water body sprite in this case, but let's see. And time is not an issue. Okay. So can you confirm before doing anything? We can eventually, start today, but then I think it's good, for example, for tomorrow, each one can pick up a different province, do the classification on their own, and we can discuss. Tomorrow will be literally just discussion, okay? To understand how good it is, if you have an issue. So can you please confirm you have defined both the training and validation site? Because now after that it should be easy. Everything is just clicking. So I'm waiting for your so it looks like everything is fine. Let me just check. Okay, so I'm now copying you the other bit of code. Okay. So now what we are going to do, we have to modify it somehow. Actually, no, it's better I will do it and I will copy. So now we define the sites itself. So we know where are these training sites. So what we do is we create a unique variable called class names where we define, okay, we add all these classes. We add only the training site. So we have artificial surfaces, we have agricultural, we merge everyone, okay? So agricultural areas yellow, then we have green, agriculture. I will copy after just so anybody can see before. Green. Then we have forest. So this is essentially, this function merging is merging all these attributes together. Forest. Then we have wetlands. Then we have no clouds. This is an old script. Water bodies dark. You could see because it's black, so it means that it's not linked to anything. So this is a warning, while these other are in purple. So we say water bodies dark and bright. Water bodies dark. You see it's now purple, and then we merge again with the last. The semicolon is just to end everything. So bright. So we have now everything in a class thingy. This will be the label, so how they will be called. So I need to add, we have artificial surface, agricultural areas. I will call it the same way. Yellow, then we have agricultural areas. I will copy, just give me a second. Green. Then we have forest. Don't worry, this is because I missed the comma. So you see here, you have the warning unexpected. So you have the help. Green, forest, wetlands, water bodies, dark and bright. Water bodies, dark, water bodies, bright. I just want to run and check that everything is fine. Now it's not adding anything, okay? But if there would be an error, at least here in the syntax, it will be highlighted. So I will copy this, okay, in the chat, okay? So just start adding this at the bottom of your code. This is, let's call it this province. I will after, you see, by the way, just to show you everything, you see, you can get a link, message the link to you. Okay, if I want to share, or for example, if I want to copy script path and I can share with you, okay? But of course, the problem would be in this case, I have defined these things on variable which are on my Google, okay? So even if I share with you, you will have this essentially, but you don't have these, okay, features, okay, because they are stored in my account. So I didn't receive any text from you about issue, so hopefully means that we are doing fine. So now we have the classes grouped, okay? So we have a long variable called the class name with collecting all this information with spatial, so we know spatially where they are. Now we have to tell him spectrally which band we want to use for training. Again, so in this case, I use a band, not just red, green, and blue, but also 5, 6. Of course, as I told you, the more bands we add, the better would be, okay? Because of, yeah, we have more spectral characteristic. I told you that sometimes terrain, vegetation, especially if we want to, for example, divide between different type of vegetation, is not this the case. But sometimes having more bands help, because sometimes they can have the same response, reflectance in the red, green, blue, but different in bands in the infrared, for example. So let's say we use these bands and we select the, we take this band for this area from this variable class name, which is connected to the training site we define. And this is the property we look, okay, length over. This is the scale, so it would be 10 meters, the full resolution. And this will be the training. Did I? No, I will just run and see if there is any issue. No. So you see now it's essentially collecting the information from these features. Don't worry. What it's telling us is essentially it cannot display anything because there are more than 5,000 elements. Why there are 5,000? Because essentially it counts also the pixel inside the polygon. So when we define the polygons, there are a lot of pixels. And could be an issue in display, but doesn't mean that we cannot do the analysis. So don't worry, I will copy again this other part of the text here. Let me know if you have issue. In the chat, I'm not receiving anything, any report on anything, which is good. Let me know. So now we have defined spatially the class, spectrally which band we want to look. And now this is the let's say we have done all these 3 hours introduction course, and this is the class. So it's just 4 lines of code. So here we can change eventually the classifier. And as I told you, this is the function. So Earth Engine classifier, but it's not the only. This is cart. Okay. As you can see, if I do classify, there is cart, decision tree. So these are all the naive Bayes, random forest. So these are the one I mentioned yesterday. Okay, there are a lot. Some of them are variable of the same. Okay, random forest, smile, and if you click, they will tell you what are the information you need and everything. Okay, or eventually, as I told you, let's say cart. Let's say you don't know how to use it. Let's try. Probably we will find on Earth Engine cart. Yeah, you see. So you will have. So essentially, I'm telling you that this course is useless now. I'm joking. But you see, essentially, if you have issue or you want to try different type of classification, you can essentially yeah, find this information online. So I'm just giving you a small, let's say, yeah, teaching you on a small part of the potentiality of Google Earth Engines. Yes, 10 is the scale, it's in meter, so it means it will be, this training will occur at 10 meter pixel spacing. So I'm using cart at the moment, okay? So, but we can try, of course, for example, we, at the end of this, we can decide for tomorrow exercise, we can decide, okay, we can try the same area to be classified with different classifier and see the difference. Yeah, I'm using cart at the moment, just because, yeah, I've done it already, so I know it. So I have the classifier. So this is telling essentially use the cart classifier, train it using what? A feature called training, which will be connected to the variable we defined with the class name. So we know the spectral band and the area we want to train this classifier. And yeah, the bands will be, yeah, this one. We can change, we can add the other bands and everything. Now, this is the output. So we will create a classified image where we have these bands as input. We use the classifier here, okay? And we clip around the area of interest, so this, okay? Just checking, okay. So I will just run to see if there is an issue. No. Okay, you will, even if it's running here, if you have issue, you will already get here. Okay, so you could see at the moment we still have RGB because until we don't run any add layer, map add layer, we will not see anything. So at this stage, what we have done, we have already done the classification. It's just we cannot see it. So what I will do is, yeah, let's display this classification. I will now copy everything. It's just, give me a second. So we have a range between 0 and, in this case, 6, because we have 6 classes, 7 actually, because from 0 to 6. And these are essentially, yeah, the color, which, let me try, because I need to add a color. Numbers, 1 second. If you give me... So essentially we have red for length over 0, which is artificial surface. If you remember this, length over 0, artificial surface. So we have agricultural areas yellow, okay. Green, it's okay. So the third class, sorry, second class would be green, because this is 0, 1, 2. Then we have cyan, which is, no, we need to add the forest, which would be dark green. Let's see. Now I need to find in Google Earth Engine. the color palette. 1 second, sorry. So the good thing is, you see, you can change and find this information. I don't remember now where they are, but we can find online. If you give me, I mean, meantime, please, if you haven't done the find the training and validation side, 1 second, I'm just trying to remember. Color label. So I think, so we have the yellow, the green. Let's try. I don't know where are the. What I can do eventually, because I don't remember how it's called. I can take the color hopefully from here. So you see, this is the color class. Let me just check. So if you have seen, I don't know dark gray now it's called in Google the label. So I just took this, copied this. I hope it's fine. We will discover it. Then we have cyan for class wetlands, dark blue, and then this would be this color. So let me just save and run and see. Okay. So now you would see you have a new class, a classification. I will not show you. I want to, you will see from together. So I'm sharing now in the chat. So let me see. So we are, I copy until here. Now I'm copying the last part, which is this. So if you copy now and you run, so essentially the problem I was having is, how green is, I understand it's green. I don't remember how it's called dark green. So I just used the code from the color palette. Because if you see here, every time you change, you have a different code. That's it. So you see, it's very bad, our classification map. But at this stage, I mean, for us, it's just important to get this map. Then we can play with it, change it, and that's it. So can you confirm? I think for today, I think it's everything. I'm not scared about how bad it is, but I mean, important for us is getting it. That's it. Because now it's just a question of play with the training side. So you could see at least we have, I will just get rid of it. At least we can see the river and the forest, they looks fine. We, of course, you see forest, river in blue, looks fine. What we can do, actually, before we leave, is adding the validation. So tomorrow we can see where we have to play with. And we can add also other things I will show you later. So I will now add the validation. So we have, like we have done for the class name, we have to now merge all the validation side in a variable. So we will have artificial surface. What I will do is essentially copying. I will then copy in the chart We need this essentially. What we have done the same for the class name. We group everything in a validation name file. But of course, now we will have the V extension. So this is just to, because this can give an idea of how bad is the map and if there is a specific class which is particularly bad. Okay. Blah blah blah, and cover scale. We can use, in this case I was using 50 meter. I was not that interested in the the resolution of the scale. I will just run just to see, because now what we will see here is the error matrix, the one I was talking about yesterday. So we will see the overall accuracy, let's see how it is, which is, and then the error matrix, so the error by class. Okay, we would see which class is completely bad, which is good. So validation is 83%. It means that, yeah, comparing essentially the training site, the classified map with the validation side. So it's just considering now this site and see, for example, here where the map has been classified as water, dark water. Do we have dark water in the classified image? No. You can see here we have like artificial surface. Okay, so that's it. And then we have, this is important, a list of elements is telling us essentially which is badly classified. So this is class 0. If you remember, the classifier works by number, this number essentially, the value in the line cover. So here is telling us that 3 elements have been on the validation correspond actually to artificial surface, because this is class 0, this is class land cover 1, so agricultural areas yellow, this is agricultural areas green, and so on. So this is that all the validation sites are good. So the artificial surface class is great. The problem is, you see here for the agricultural areas, 5 they are right, they correspond to class 1. You see class 1 and cover 1, but 4 of them they are actually falling of this validation side, fall in the artificial surface. So this is something we have to play with agricultural areas. In my case, because of course you have to find a different area, you can see that the other agricultural areas, the green is good, 13, just 1 has been misclassified. The forest, this is the forest again, it's good. Wetlands is completely bad. You see, wetlands should be here, but no, all the wetlands validation side, they are actually in the artificial surface. So this is where I need to work. So for this is important. This is, for example, I need to move now all the validation side, or I need to move the training side. Okay, I can do quickly and update again. So I think for everything, I will stop recording. So I think we have done enough. And yeah.